Hello everyone, I'm Aratrika Bhomik and I welcome you all to another episode of Courts Today on LiveLaw, where we update you about all the important legal developments that took place across the country today. We will begin with developments from the Supreme Court and then cover High Courts and other subordinate courts. If you like our content, please do support us by liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Let's begin. The Supreme Court today continued hearing a batch of petitions challenging the Karnataka High Court's verdict, which upheld the ban on wearing of hijab by Muslim girl students in education institutes in the state of Karnataka. Today was the sixth day of hearing by a bench comprising Justices Hemant Gupta and Sudhanshu Dhulia. Arguments today were advanced by a host of counsels appearing on behalf of the petitioners in this case. The next hearing is slated to take place on September 19th. Advocate Shoaib Alam argued that the state can't enter into a barter system with its citizens, asking them to surrender their right to privacy in exchange of right to education. We have made a detailed video on today's hearing, the link to which has been given in the description box below. Please do check it out. In a significant development, the central government today has informed the Supreme Court that Indian medical students who have returned from Ukraine cannot be accommodated in Indian universities as there is no provision in the National Medical Commission Act allowing it. Allowing such a relaxation will hamper the standard of medical education in India, the centre stated in the counter affidavit filed before the Supreme Court. The affidavit has been filed by the Secretary of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, responding to a batch of petitions seeking relief for Indian students who had to abandon their medical courses in Ukraine midway after the Russian attack in February and March 2022. The Supreme Court of India today opined that all persons who have completed 10 years of sentence and whose appeals will not be heard in the near future should be enlarged on bail unless there are other reasons to deny them bail. A division bench of Justices Sanjay Kishan Kaul and Abhay S. Oka was considering a batch of petitions of life convicts in jail whose appeals are pending before various high courts. The bench observed, and I quote, "We can appreciate if any of the parties is denying the bail itself, but short of that, we are of the view that all persons who have completed 10 years of sentence and appeal is not in near proximity of hearing with no extenuating circumstances should be enlarged on bail." The Supreme Court today dismissed a batch of appeals filed by the Pharmacy Council of India against the judgments of certain high courts which set aside the moratorium imposed on starting new pharmacy colleges for 5 years. A bench comprising Justices B.R. Gavai and P.S. Narasimha expressed agreement with the High Court that the ban cannot be imposed through executive instructions. The Supreme Court has issued notice in a plea impugning the order of the Bombay High Court which upheld the constitutional validity of the Goa Cess on Fluid Milk Control Act of 2000. However, the Supreme Court has refused to grant stay on the operation of the other order of the High Court. A bench comprising Justices M.R. Shah and Krishna Murari issued notice in the petition only to the extent that it assails the relevant provisions of the 2000 Act and the competence of the state legislature to enact it. The notice has been made returnable on November 15 this year. A division bench of the Supreme Court of India continued to hear the challenge against a decision of the Allahabad High Court to disqualify Rampur MLA Muhammad Abdullah Azam Khan for allegedly not having attained the age of 25 years on the date of the election as prescribed in Article 173 Clause B of the Constitution. In 2019, the Allahabad High Court struck a major blow to Khan's electoral aspirations when the petitioner, one Nawab Kazam Ali Khan, moved the court claiming that the young politician from the Samajwadi Party had falsely represented himself to be older for the purpose of contesting the assembly elections. A public interest litigation petition has been filed in the Supreme Court under Article 32 of the Constitution of India, seeking directions for the state governments to formulate rules for the registration of Sikh marriages under the Anand Marriage Act of 1909. The petition has filed the petition before the High Court of Uttarakhand seeking formulation of the rules. The matter was finally disposed of by the High Court by an order dated 23rd March 2021 with a direction to the Chief Secretary of the State of Uttarakhand to take appropriate steps for putting the aforesaid proposal before the Cabinet, and after approval of the Cabinet also take steps for publishing the same in the Gazette and place it before the Legislative Assembly. The Bar Council of India has recently issued a press release in which the council has, after holding joint meeting with the State Bar Council and the office bearers of the High Court Bar Associations, come to a conclusion that the age superannuation of the judges be increased. The press release also stated that the meeting had resolved to propose to the Parliament to consider amending various statutes so that experienced advocates could be appointed as chairpersons of various commissions and forums. The Punjab and Haryana High Court recently held that the effect of a magistrate's deposition in favour of a dying declaration can be eroded only when an efficacious cross-examination is conducted. The observation was made by a bench comprising Justice Sureshwar Thakur and Justice N.S. Shekhawat while dealing with an appeal against conviction for the offence of murder. The conviction was based on the victim's dying declaration. The Delhi High Court has sought the response of the Delhi government in a PIL seeking full-time education to students in schools being run by the Delhi government in city's Northeast district, alleging that the children are either imparted only 2 hours of daily education or are being taught on alternate days. A division bench comprising of Chief Justice Satish Chandra Sharma and Justice Subramaniam Prasad issued notice on the petition moved by the social jurist, a civil rights group, claiming that the said teaching pattern adopted in the government schools in question is affecting the education of more than 1 lakh students. The Madras High Court has recently directed the Thoothukudi District Collector and police authorities to strictly implement a circular memorandum regarding the procedure that is to be followed while granting permission to conduct cultural events, sports events, processions, etc. The authorities were thus directed to ensure that no obscene or vulgar dance performances takes place during the Dasera festival in the Arultharum Mutharaman temple. The Calcutta High Court has recently refused to set aside the decision of the state government to extend grants to the puja committees during Durga Puja. However, the court did direct the government to release the grant in favour of only those clubs and puja committees who in the previous year had utilised the same for the purpose it was granted and had duly submitted the utilisation certificate within time. With this, the bench of Chief Justice of Calcutta High Court Prakash Srivastava and Justice Rajarshi Bhardwaj dismissed a bunch of public interest litigation petitions filed challenging the state government's decision to provide a grant of about 60,000 each to about 40,000 puja committees and clubs in the state of West Bengal during Durga Puja of this year. The Madras High Court, the Madurai bench that is, today sentenced Savukku Shankar to 6 months of simple imprisonment in a suo motu contempt proceeding for his remarks against the higher judiciary. The bench also refused to entertain the request of Mr. Shankar to suspend the sentence until filing of appeal before the Supreme Court. The court thus directed Mr. Shankar to be forthwith taken to custody and lodged in Central Prison of Madurai. Thank you. Keep watching Courts Today on LiveLaw for more such updates. See you tomorrow.